Welcome to Lovin' Life's Journey DIY. I'm Chantal and I am so glad you're here. In today's video, I'm going to be doing some 4th of July DIYs. Now, I normally don't decorate a whole lot for 4th of July in my house. I might put something on my front door or on the front porch, but I almost always do a tiered tray for the 4th of July. And this year I wanted to put together some new things to put in my tray. So I have, I think, 7 new DIYs for my tiered tray. These can also be used just around your house to decorate for 4th of July as well. Before we get into those, I do want to say a big thank you to Bell Lily for sponsoring this video. They have a lot of fun, affordable clothing, and they sent me this cute shirt with the fun prints on it. So if you want to check out their website, I will put the link to that in the description box below, as well as a discount code. And also, I want to give a quick shout out to one of you. One of my longtime subscribers, Karen, sent me a little gift in the mail, and I just wanted to show you this. She sent me a cute note, and she DIY'd this cute little box that has Lovin' Life's Journey on it. And I just think that's so cute, and that just really blessed me. Thank you so much, Karen. I appreciate you guys so much, whether you send me things or not. I just love all of you. I love that we can create and craft together. And if you do want to send me mail, I'd love to get it, but please don't ever feel like you have to. So now let's jump into these 4th of July DIYs.
For this project, I'm going to be using this little house-shaped whiteboard from Dollar Tree, and also this little galvanized round circle that says Home Sweet Home. I got this at Joann Fabrics, but you could use any type of little embellishment. And then I'm also going to be using this red, white, and blue twine that I picked up in my last Dollar Tree haul. And then I'll be painting it using this acrylic midnight blue paint. So I'm going to paint all of the wood on this sign using the midnight blue paint, except for just the inside edge that's right next to the whiteboard. I'm going to leave that a natural color. I just thought that would be easier, and it gives it a little bit more interest as well. After I finished the front, I realized that I needed to do something with the back of this because it's going to be sitting on a tiered tray and it's going to show. So I also painted the back using the blue paint as well. So the back of this is actually going to be the front of my project. And so after my blue paint is dry, I'm just taking a little bit of white paint on a dry chip brush and just lightly going over this to distress it a little bit and give it that more farmhouse look. I also dry brushed a little bit of white paint on the side with the whiteboard, but that's all I'm going to do to this side, and then I have the whiteboard where I can write whatever type of message that I want to. To finish the blue side of my sign, I'm going to add my little galvanized embellishment, and I am just going to hot glue a little piece of twine to the back of that and then hang it from the little peak of my house. And to finish this off, I took a piece of red twine, white twine, and blue twine, put them together, tied them in a bow, and then just hot glued that to the very top of the house. this next project, I am going to use this pallet sign from Dollar Tree, and I am going to be turning this into a little flag. So I'm going to remove my label off of the back, and I decided just to leave the hanger because I might want to hang this up somewhere, and I didn't mind it being on there for my tiered tray. So I'm going to start by finding the center of my pallet and just marking that on the first or the top two slats. This is going to show me where I need to paint my blue square in the top left corner. And for this, I will be using the Midnight Blue acrylic paint and just painting just the front sides of those top two slats on the left-hand side. This is going to be the blue portion of my flag. And just a tip here, if you use a flat brush like I am using here, it is much easier to get a nice straight line than if you use a round brush. I did accidentally get some paint on the little wood piece behind the slats, and I didn't want that there, and so I just took a wet Q-tip and wiped it off before it dried, and that worked really well. Since this little pallet sign only has 4 slats, I wanted to kind of divide them up so I could have more stripes on my flag. So I am using a ruler. I'm just eyeballing this, and I'm going to paint the top half of that first slat using the red paint. And then I decided instead of painting the bottom half of it white, I would just leave it natural. So really my white stripes are going to be the natural wood color instead. I did this just because I felt like it would make it a little bit more rustic or farmhouse, but if you want to paint it white, that would look great too. The bottom slat on this pallet sign is a little bit wider than the others, and I did want to have a red stripe on the top and on the bottom of the flag, so I did put a narrower stripe of red on the bottom just to kind of finish it off. For my stars, I am going to take a really tiny liner paintbrush and a little bit of white paint with just a little bit of water in it so that it kind of flows a little bit nicer. And I am going to paint my stars onto the flag. Now, obviously, I'm not putting 50 stars on here. This is just a few stars for, a decoration. This is not a true flag, but I just put 4 on each slat, so I have a total of 8. And if you aren't comfortable using a liner brush to do this, because it can be a little challenging if you're not used to doing it, you could use a paint marker, or you could put on vinyl using your Cricut, or even just some rub-on transfers. I really wanted to add the Pledge of Allegiance to my flag, so I am using a pencil and writing out the Pledge of Allegiance on the white stripes. And I'm using a pencil because I wasn't sure of kind of the spacing and the size and everything. And then I am going to go over this using a fine point Sharpie marker. And then once the marker has had time to completely dry, I'm going to use a white eraser and lightly go over any pencil marks that are showing. But you want to make sure that your Sharpie is completely dry so that it doesn't smear. And I am super happy with how this came out. This next DIY is super simple using this cute LED lantern that's battery powered. I picked this up at Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to add a little bit to this lantern to kind of help it coordinate with everything else that I'm doing. So I'm going to remove the tag, and then I'm also going to take off that little hanger. It looks just kind of like a keychain ring to me, and so I'm going to remove that. And since my tiered tray is white, I am going to add a little bit of dry brushing using some black chalk paint and a chip brush to this so it doesn't blend in with the tray quite as much. So I'm just giving it a little bit of dimension and distressing just to help it show up a little bit more. And now I'm going to take some of that same twine that I have been using, the red, white, and blue twine, and I am going to put a little dab of hot glue at the end and twist those 3 strands together really tightly so that I can get them through the hole. And this is just a trick that I use. It helps keep all those frayed ends together so that you can push it through a small hole. And sometimes a pair of needle nose pliers is helpful too. So after I get the twine pulled through, I am going to just tie a knot, making a loop, and then I'll cut it off at the length that I want. And below the knot, I will just kind of unravel the twine, and that will make a little tassel at the end. And that's all there is to this one. I love these galvanized star shapes from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be using it as well as this star-shaped window cling, also from Dollar Tree. I'm going to be using 9 wooden beads. These are some that I picked up on an after Christmas clearance sale, but you can get them at craft stores or even on Amazon. And then I'm going to be using some red and blue craft paint. I divided my beads into 3 sets of 3, and I am going to paint 3 of the beads red. And this is my favorite way to paint beads because they can be so messy to paint. So I just get a little baggie and I add a couple drops of red paint as well as a couple drops of water. And then I just zip up the bag and then squish them all around and then pour out the beads onto a paper towel and just kind of dab any extra paint that I have off, and then I let them dry and then just throw the baggie away. I love how easy that is. And my fingers aren't covered in paint, so that's a bonus too. And then I'm just going to repeat that process and paint 3 of my beads blue. The remaining 3 beads, I'm going to leave the natural wood color because I'm kind of carrying that through my projects for my tiered tray. But if you wanted to paint them white, you could certainly do that. So I'm going to set those aside so they can dry completely. And then I am going to take my little star and I'll just remove that tag. And then I'm going to add my little window cling to this. And at first I thought that it would just stick to the galvanized metal, but it did not want to stay on there. It stayed for a little while, but then it kind of, the points of the star kind of wanted to peel up. So I would recommend using maybe a double-sided adhesive, or you could even use Mod Podge or something to adhere this to the star. Next, I'm going to cut that loop hanger so I have just one long piece of jute twine. I'm going to add a little drop of hot glue at the end and squeeze that together to make a point so that I can thread my beads onto the twine without it raveling or unraveling. And then I'm going to place my beads on using a red, a natural color, and a blue, and just alternate that till I have all 9 beads on my twine. Then I'm going to tie a knot in the end of the twine to hold the beads on, and then I did unravel the twine a little bit at the end. Didn't make a very big tassel, but it kind of helped a little. found this cute little home sign at Dollar Tree the last time I was there, and I decided I wanted to make it over to go in my tiered tray. So while it's cute, I am going to remove that flower and then smooth out the little hole where I took it out of because there was some glue and stuff. So I just took a piece of sandpaper and kind of rubbed that down. And then I'm going to give this several coats of white paint. And I used acrylic paint and it literally took probably 5 coats to cover it. So I would recommend using chalk paint because I think it would cover in 1 or 2 coats. I was just being lazy and I didn't want to get up and get my white chalk paint, which ended up costing me so much more time in the long run. Does anybody else do that? Or is it just me? So after I have it covered well with my 4 or 5 coats of paint, I'm going to let it dry, and then I used some antique wax by Waverly and a chip brush and just dry brushed over this just again to give it a little bit more dimension and help it stand out from my white tiered tray. So again, I'm going to be using these 3 pieces of twine, the red, white, and blue that I found in the Crafter Square section at Dollar Tree. And I am going to be wrapping all 3 strands around 2 of my fingers. I'm going to do that twice. And then I will take a small piece of twine to tie around the center. And I'm just going to tie a tight knot to hold it together. And then I will cut off the excess. And then I will repeat that so that I have 2 of these little bundles. I actually learned how to make these little twine flowers from Kelly Barlow's channel, Kelly Barlow Creations. Be sure to check it out. I'll link it in the description box below. I'm just going to glue one little bundle on vertically, and then I'm going to glue the other one on top of that horizontally, and I'm just kind of spreading out the twine so I get kind of that flower look and it all looks nice and neat. And then to finish it off, I decided just to glue a cute little button in the center of the flower. This next one will only take a couple of minutes. I am using this wood pencil holder from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be using the blue twine. And all I'm going to do is just wrap this around the center of the pencil holder a couple of times and tie a bow and trim the ends. And then I'm going to add these fun paper straws that I picked up at Dollar Tree. So for this DIY, I'm going to be using 3 of the wooden blocks from Dollar Tree, and you could use their foam dice or any other blocks that you have. I'm also going to be using some wood letters. These are some I got either at Walmart or at Dollar Tree. You could maybe even use some of the galvanized letters from Dollar Tree, but I liked the bigger wood letters. And then once again, I'm going to be using my red, white, and blue paint, as well as this crackle medium from Folk Art. And you can pick that up at any craft store or at Walmart, I believe. I'm going to paint 2 of my blocks using the white paint, and I'm just doing 1 good coat of paint because this is just going to be the undercoat or the base coat. It's what's going to show through when the top coat crackles. I'm going to paint my other block using my blue paint. This is going to be my center block and it's going to be white, so I needed something different underneath to show through when that white paint crackles. Once that base coat paint was completely dry, I got my crackle medium and I'm going to just give all 3 blocks a nice good coat of this crackle medium, and then I'm going to let that dry completely. It does take a bit longer for the crackle medium to dry, so I've set those aside and I'm going to paint my letters. I'm going to paint the U and the A using my white paint, and then I'm going to paint the S using my blue paint. Now that my crackle medium is completely dry, I'm going to take my red paint and a larger paintbrush, and I'm going to use a pretty good amount of paint and brush over the top of the block. Now you want to work quickly and try not to go like over it too many times or it'll start to pull the paint off. And the crackle effect starts pretty quickly, so as the paint starts to dry, you'll see it begin to crack. Isn't that so cool? I think it's so fun to do this technique. On my middle block that I painted blue, I am going to go over the top of it using the white paint, and then it will start to crack and you'll see the blue start to show through on it. And then on my other white block, I am going to put blue over the top of it. So here is what my blocks look like after that top coat has dried completely and the paint has cracked. I love how this looks. I'm going to just glue my letters on the front of the blocks using my hot glue gun. So here is everything put together in my tiered tray. I am loving how this looks. I'm glad I left some of the natural wood. I think that helps it stand out since my tiered tray is mostly white. And I am just really happy with this. Let me know in the comments which one of these projects is your favorite. And I always get this question every time I show this tiered tray. People always ask if I made it. And no, I did not make this tiered tray. It's one I actually bought at a local furniture store. I really love it, but I do have a DIY tiered tray video that I will link in the card above and put in the description box below if you want to check it out. It's not white and red like this one, but you could paint it that way. So I will link that. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet and you like Dollar Tree DIYs and DIYs on a budget, then be sure to hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell to set your notifications so that YouTube will notify you when I upload new videos. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a blessed day.